Today we're going to talk about bee-friendly plants. We're in the demonstration garden and we're just going to pick a few of the summer bloomers to show you how to take care of them and get more flowers from them. First of all, I just want to show this little lip on this Salvia gregii. There are different varieties, different colors of Salvia gregii, but if you see this lip, bees love that landing pad. So when you're at the nursery, you'll be able to tell a bee-friendly plant, one of them anyway, from this lip on the flowers. This plant is called Teucrium camidris, and look at all the beautiful little pink flowers, and they have that little lip. They're much smaller flowers than that salvia I just showed you, but they still have that little lip right here. You can probably see where the bees like to land. Now this Teucrium camidris in the demonstration garden here is a little bit drought stress, so it's falling open in the center over here if you get an overview. I don't have this on drip, so I deep soak this once or twice a month, but it still looks great, and it's a really good hedge too. So twice a year I come in and I hedge this down to a little round shape like this, and then it fills in again. And I let the bees have their way with these flowers until the plant really looks bad later in summer, and probably around August, and then I shear it again, and then it fills in its nice green. The other thing about Teucrium camidris before we leave this plant is you don't have to grow it in a hedge. You can grow these singularly as just little dot rhythm throughout your garden, and you can pull the whole plant up when you need to shear it. Let me show you. You can just pull it up. Hi, Colt! You can just pull it up, and if it's a singular plant, and just whack it, just shear it straight across down to 3 inches, and it's going to be scary at first if you've never done this, but in just a few weeks the green leaves will fill back in. This is an awesome plant, Teucrium camidris. This is oregano, and the only reason I'm growing this in the garden is for the bees. It's kind of floppy when it starts blooming. It starts looking raggedy, but I don't care. I want the bees to be able to get, I think they're getting nectar from this one. Honeybees get nectar from some plants and pollen from others. Nectar is this nice sweet stuff that they get from these little tiny flowers. And then pollen, of course, you've seen before, is usually yellow, and that's for fat and proteins, and the nectar is for sugars. But this is oregano. So once this has bloomed out, then let me show you. I come down. You can see this in our other video on shearing, but let me just show you today the grooming on this plant. So after the bees have had their way with the flowers, and then it's really looking floppy and a mess, real leggy, I come in here and I grab a hunk and I shear it right down to the ground. You don't have to think too much with this one. Just shear it down to as close to the ground as you can, because in a few weeks, if you look here in the front, it's all going to fill in and look nice like this again, a nice green carpet. This is Liatris, and it's a bulb, and they're really beautiful. They come in white and purple, but these purple ones, oh look, we have a little bee model right there. You can zoom in and catch that bee at work. So pretty. Anyway, Liatris do like regular water, I have to say. If they get water stressed at all, the flowers will shrivel up and they're not going to come back. So make sure that you have these on regular drip or you're hand watering regularly. The other thing to watch for Liatris is they do tend to fall over sometimes, very heavy. So right here I love these hook type supports. You can just gently put it right in there, and they're really great. They don't use these though for long-lived plants because they'll get so fat you'll never be able to get them out of the metal ring. After these Liatris are finished flowering, go ahead and prune, follow the stem. You'll follow the stem and you'll know they're finished because they just won't be fluffy and pretty purple like this anymore. Follow it all the way down into the foliage down in there and cut the stem out from the base, leaving the foliage to feed the tuber for next year, or the bulb for next year. It's always great to have plants in the garden that have an exclamation type feeling. Your design will really be bumped up if you have a few of these, and Liatris is perfect for the exclamation point. It's beautiful from above, and when these bloom, they're amazing. They're about 4 inches around, and the bees just go crazy over them. I leave the flowers, even when they turn brown, I leave them into winter until the plant looks really, really bad. Then I prune every one of these stems down to the ground. And then the plant is just very quiet and hardly there during the winter, and then it starts to grow back up in spring. This is Gaillardia, and next to its friend, the orange zinnia. Gaillardia, bees just love this plant too. But in the summer, to keep it blooming well, instead of leaving the spent bloom, see how this one's not looking as beautiful as the brand new one down here. If you move over to the left, here's a brand new one. And this right here, this beautiful globe, this is the seed head. This is a spent flower. It's all done with the flower. So I don't usually leave many of these on the plant in midsummer. Towards the end of summer, when I know that the plant will be done blooming, I'll leave a lot of the globes because they're so pretty. But I want this plant to keep blooming, so let me show you how I deadhead this. So here's one that is spent. It's, on the way out. So I follow it, the stem all the way down into there. See, there's a new bud coming up right here, and I prune that out. And that's how I clean up this plant. And then I also would come down on this and prune it out. Now it'll keep blooming if you don't do that, but it'll bloom a lot more if you do this type of grooming. That's Gaillardia. This is a Salvia variety. I'm sorry, I don't remember which kind right now, but you can see this lip here if you zoom in on this plant right here, you can see the lip again and how the bees just love anything with that type of flower. So in the summertime, you're going to be deadheading, removing the spent stems like this one right here. See how that's all done, it's already flowered. And so I come in and do it straight across cut down here, just above some laterals, some new stems, and I prune that out. And then that'll encourage these, plus it'll make the plant look a lot better if you cut out the dead ones. Do you absolutely have to do that with Salvia? No, not necessarily. It's going to keep on blooming, but it sure makes it a lot prettier. Salvia. We're going to talk about 3 more salvias. Bees love all salvias, and it's not just honeybees that we're talking about. I'm talking about bumblebees and even wasps and hoverflies, and all kinds of good beneficial insects love the salvia. But not all salvia are alike. Like this salvia right here has whorled flowers. See how the flower goes around, and then there's stem, and then it goes around. Those are called whorled flowers. And this is a beautiful This is a beautiful salvia, but it's very short-lived in the garden because it gets very woody. See down here how it's looking pretty homely at the base. This one, I mean, I'm not saying don't grow it, but just know that it's not going to be your fault if it does this. Salvia, which one is it? Salvia clevelandii. And so you can grow it for a year or two, and then maybe you'll have to replace it. Let's move over to this next salvia. Go ahead and get right in there with this one. This one is so beautiful. I got from a friend of mine. It's called Salvia canariensis. And the bees aren't quite awake out here yet, but it's usually covered by mid-afternoon with bees. And you can clean this up by the same thing I did with that other salvia, where, like, look here in this front part. It's looking kind of scraggly. So I'll just go down and cut this out here. Just to kind of clean it up. And then we're going to move over to one of my favorites. Oh, before we leave this one, in winter this one can be cut down and it's going to stay semi-green leaves. But we're going to move over to Salvia Indigo Spires over here on the right with the purple flowers. And this one I leave pretty much dormant sticks during the winter and then prune it hard in the spring. And then look how big this is. It's like 6 feet around each year, and it starts out by being pruned really hard in the spring, close to when the danger of frost is over. So with this one I come in and let's go up here to these right here, and when they start to look funky like this, I go ahead and do the same thing I did to the one in the other part of the garden. Just prune this out. I'm going to prune this out. You can see here's a new one, stem that wants to come up and bloom. So I'm going to prune this one out. And then here's a real long one. And I'm going to go a little farther down on this one. Can you see in there? So I'm going to hold this. See if we can do this. Instead of going to here, I just want it to be a little bushier. I'm going to go farther down. Can you see that? Mm-hmm. We're going to wrap up today with this Indigo Spires salvia and this cute little honeybee. We've added some photos at the end of the video today so you can see some more summer blooming bee-friendly plants. And we hope you enjoyed the video today. Tell your friends about us and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.